Captain Clark? Is he here?
I'm afraid he's not quite himself.
No, I'm aware of that. Can you take us to him, please?
Well, we don't normally allow outsiders to enter the camp in modern accoutrements.
These are special circumstances.
Fair enough. Follow me.
Hi, I'm Liz, and I'm here today with Griffin Dunne. We're here to talk about his new film, The Discoverers, as well as his career in general. Welcome, Griffin.
Thank you, Liz.
Yay! So I saw The Discoverers, and I love it so much.
I'm so glad.
Can you talk a little bit about how the script came to you and how you decided to do it?
It came just through my agent, and just said that there's this script that you've been offered, and it was going relatively soon. You know, I was struck by its charm, like within 3 pages. You know, and this character who I play, this historian. You know, I play a father of a teenage kid, and something I'm well aware of, very, very familiar terrain for me. And so I just kind of knew before finishing it that it was definitely a movie I wanted to make.
And it was a first-time writer-director. It was his first feature,
Yes, it
Justin
was.
Schwartz.
Justin Schwartz, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about working with him?
It's always a risk for an actor, if they've been, doing it a lot, to kind of trust and just sign on with a first-time director, because it's usually in extremes. They're either really, really good or bad in so many colossal ways. It's usually someone who's written their script, and sometimes they're so young they kind of don't earn that feeling of being burned enough by having their scripts screwed up before to make them want to direct. But Justin was really a fully formed, guy who'd been a speechwriter for politicians in Washington before he was even a filmmaker, and he'd written this script that was so, beautifully, kind of tonally great story and everything. And he knew a lot about movies, and he'd thought about it a lot, and he was really prepared, which you'd think would be just a common thing that every director would be, prepared to make their movie, but you'd be surprised how oftentimes they're not.
Well, it's so easy to make a movie now, of course.
It's just so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can do it. It's just open to everyone.
Well, can you talk a little bit about your process? So I know you're a writer, you're a director, you're an actor. Where do you feel most, fulfilled creatively?
Of the acting that I've done of late have been these kind of wonderful parts, but you kind of are needle dropped into a movie and you work for 2 weeks, and the crew and the cast have already been there, and then you leave, and you never quite feel at home. I think the most consuming work that also I'm very gratified by is directing. I love the preparation and finding the story and then developing the story, and so when it comes time to you're looking at locations and casting, and it just takes up your life for a year and a half, so you don't have to think about any of these other problems you have. All you have to do is think about your movie. It's like being on vacation.
You devote a lot of time to independent projects, and I'm just wondering if you ever get frustrated, or how do you keep that faith in independent film alive in you?
It's very challenging.
Yeah.
I've had a partner that we made 6, 7 movies, named Amy Robinson, and we worked with Martin Scorsese and Sidney Lumet and John Sayles and Lasse Hallström, and it's just been incredible directors and great scripts. And just about every one of them, always critically received. They've ended up in books called either The Best Movie You Never Saw, or, they become like cult films, or, which, I always thought, wouldn't it be great, when you'd see a cult film, you look at Harold and Maude, and I remember starting out going, God, that's such a great movie, and now it's a cult film. That must be so cool to be in a cult film. Well, it's not cool, because it just means no one went to see it the first time and didn't see it till 10 years later and then deemed it a good movie when it's too late to do anything about it. Yeah. Having a, opening weekend total hit with the movie is incredibly satisfying. That would be good. But it's we're in a medium that's becoming independent of being independent of being independent. There's so many different ways to get your movie out and there are so many movies that it's even harder to get attention.
Well, do you find yourself thinking more and more about potential revenue when you're deciding on a project, or does it affect your decision making now?
I get terribly frustrated and I know this is true with every actor and director and writer, of to get the movies made, you just sort of end up working backwards. It's just breathtaking how many, sacrifices and cuts we make. Just when we think it's low, they've actually found a new way to make it lower, the budget. And but we're always going to be exploited because we're doing what we love.
I'm a big fan of Big Girls Don't Cry.
Oh, my.
But I won't ask you too much about that. But can you speak a little bit to just the legacy of the acting roles that you've been a part of? So, Werewolf and After Hours and My Girl, which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the legacy of, say, My Girl.
Okay.
I will be approached quite often by women of your age who I guess must have seen it when it came out. Mm-hmm. And I'm playing the teacher, Mr. Bixler, who will just go, I just loved you so much when I was 8 or whatever they were. And, when that movie came out, I took my daughter to her first day of school. And she was 5 years old. And I'm walking her down the hallway. And the movie had been out for maybe a year or 2 years or something like that. And all these kids were like whispering and pointing at me, and my daughter's holding my hand going, why do they know you? And she had this first day, and so I said that when it was over, how was your first day of school? She goes, well, look, we got to talk. Who is this Mr. Bixler? Everybody loves Mr. Bixler. I don't know who they're talking about. I thought you were Daddy. Yes. I go, I am your daddy, but I'm also Mr. Bixler.
Forever.
Yeah. So that was really cool, and that's like one of those movies that kind of, will have meant something to girls of a certain age, and will just go on through eternity,
So we like to end every show with a cheers. So let's cheers to the discoverers.
Sounds good.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. I don't even know what's in this. Oh, kettle vodka, huh? Yeah.